I'm Naima Latif, and if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
And Grand Rising. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and I'll be joined by our co-host Kareem Hamid. And we're so excited because we get an opportunity to teach. Yes, we once again want to help those of us who are struggling to get our lives together. And one of the issues that continues to plague those, particularly in the African American community, is the breakup of our families. We simply have not had the proper guidance, training, and examples to know how to maintain a marriage. This isn't because we are lacking in love. It isn't because we don't want to be with a significant other. It comes down to not having the guidance on what it actually takes to make a marriage work. And what it takes is compatibility. You need to understand who you are before you can come together with another and become one. We could go back to the institution of enslavement, and we could talk about how men and women were mated together for the purpose of producing children for the market and discouraged from forming lifelong bonds. We could talk about that. But truly, it has been several hundred years, at least 160 years since the end of that system, and still we are functioning as if we are still under the rulership of people who are not allowing us to get married and stay married. There are deep wounds that we're carrying as individuals, much of it having to do with the fear of being humiliated, because that was the undercurrent of all of our pain, being violated physically in our own bodies, being put on public display as we were whipped, being put on public display as we were sold, not having jurisdiction over our children. All of these traumatic experiences are still buried inside of us and influence the way we raise our children, but more importantly, the way we feel about ourselves. And so when you're constantly in a state of fear that you're going to be humiliated, then you're perceiving every action by someone else as an act of disrespect toward you. And the anger that we feel at each other causes us to attack each other. So even though a relationship that may have started out as a loving bond dissolves in a catastrophic divorce, a split up, a breakup, a destroying of the family, and as a result, we cannot build an economic foundation. This spreads into every aspect of what we're experiencing now. So in this time, as many of us are feeling fear at a government who appears to be hostile toward people who come from any other place other than Europe, particularly those of African descent who may have been relying on government subsidies. We now have an opportunity to face our fear and heal our pain and rebuild that which was broken in us, a healthy sense of self-worth. Until you have a healthy sense of self-worth, you cannot form a healthy bond with another. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So today, we're going to introduce to you the marriage test. And this test is designed to help you see where those areas of compatibility may be or may not be between you and your spouse. So, before we bring in our wonderful co-host, Kareem Hamid, we're going to greet our global family, reminding us that we're not just speaking to those in America, we are connected to those around the world. And all of us have been affected in some way by the racial misteachings that have skewered our global economy. And now some of us must rise up and create for ourselves what we need for our survival so that we can change the direction of the world. So we'll be right back after this quick break. We want you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be right back. So stay with us.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
Yes, we do want to talk to you, and we want you to talk to us too, because this is an opportunity for us to grow and evolve and repair. So, welcome to our co host, Kareem Hamid. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Naima. I'm grateful to be with you this morning on
Well,
the
we're
Female
so
Solution.
excited. We're so excited, and we want to remind those who are watching that you may also call in and participate. Our call-in number is 727-731-5192. That's 737-721. I'm sorry, 727-731-5192. We want to hear from you. We're going to scroll that across the screen so that you can participate in the conversation. We're going to introduce you from the book Slavery to African American Psychic Trauma, the marriage test. Because so many of us were ill prepared for that bond that's supposed to be the foundation of the family. We know that during the enslavement period, our marriages were not taken seriously. Matter of fact, your spouse could be sold away, and there was always fear that our families would be broken apart. And then there was also a system set up where the attempt was for us to not form any emotional ties, just have sex, have babies, we can sell the babies, and we don't care about your feelings because this is business. So this traumatic experience carried over even after the enslavement period, even though there was a period when African American unions were lasting longer than whites because we valued that institution because it was taken from us. But certain recent conditions have reintroduced that absence of understanding of how to form that lifelong bonding commitment, which is the foundation of the family. So we created a test that would give people some points that they must discuss in order to determine if they're really compatible for marriage. Too many differing opinions on key things will eventually show up in your marriage and over time erode it. And this is having such a devastating impact. So let me ask you, Kareem, when you were coming into adulthood, what was told to you by your parents and the men in your community about how to prepare yourself for marriage, or was that even discussed? What was your experience about preparation to be a husband?
I was grateful to be in a two-parent household, and I truly loved my father, and he modeled for me what it was to be a husband and a father. Not always excellent, but there was a model, there was an aim for excellence. So he was my role model. And there was almost an unspoken theme at that time that if you get a female pregnant, you marry her. That wasn't coming from children, that was coming from adults. That was coming from the adults. You marry her. So that was kind of the norm at that time. And most households had two parents in them, not always married, but shacking up, I guess. But it was male and female. And a lot of people got married. My friends, and I got married first. Some of my close friends got married. So marriage wasn't something to be avoided. It was something that I could say a stated rule that people got married. But then something happened in the culture. You know, culture is very important. What is displayed before you can somewhat shift your thinking and your behavior, how you feel, how you think. All of a sudden, the model for African American women was switched to Foxy Brown, Pam Grier, like now it's Rihanna, Cardi B. It seems as though they have lured the women into being a diva. Yes, a diva. And there's a lack of trust. There was always an idea of trust, deceit, this deception. So, you know, sometimes we mention the wrong things that males do. Oh, well, he's this and he that, and he cheated and he did this. Wait a minute. Corruption doesn't have a gender. We have to stop this fairy tale that all women are so pure. Oh, she's just an angel of virtue. Stop that. There are some women that are very corrupt, that are very deceptive. And we know, and having seen that some men say, well, no, that's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to enter. I'm not going to marry nobody, because they have been exposed. They have seen the deception. She played him, man. I mean, these are realities. You know, sometimes when we have these conversations, females seem to think that I'm female bashing, but I'm not. We have to admit that none of us are saints, and that there are corrupt, deceptive women, just like there are corrupt, deceptive men. We have lost what is called trust, the trust in each other. And I would say, concerning marriage, the conversation that we're having now should be had between the two parties. Should be had between the two parties. You know, in a social community bonding, a community bonding, and let them know, hey, there are influences that want to come between you and I. We have to know that. There are influences that will come between you and I. I heard this story where the great Satan had a meeting for his little Satans, his imps. And he asked them, what did they do on the earth? Two of them stated what they had done, and he wasn't too impressed. But one little devil said, I came between a man and his wife. Oh, celebrated him. I mean, boy, set off the fireworks. That is what we're trying to do. So we have to be aware of that there are influences that come between the trust, the love, and the aims of two people that get married. We have to know that. Don't just take it for granted. I love you. Yeah, I know. But let us be aware that there is an influence that wants to separate us. No matter how much you love me and all of that, we must be aware that there are influences working against us. And we should identify those influences, talk about it with each other, and avoid the schemes of who we call the shaitan, the Satan. What we're seeing is the effect of Satan. Some people don't believe in him, but hey, it is real. It is real. And we have to be aware of that. Both parties should be aware of that and arm themselves well, mentally, emotionally, and accept that we will not allow these influences to come between you and I. If you see me veering off, please pull my coat. If I veer it off, I'm going to pull your coat so that we stay a loving unit. So it's not just, we have been influenced by the culture and a lack of trust. We know that. We know that this government separated males and females, that they would give her financial help as long as the man was not in the home. Now, isn't that? I mean, that's plain and clear. That's right in your face. I'm going to break this union up. That happened. That happened.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to suggest for those who are watching and listening that you call your significant other, either call them on the phone or call them in the room or whatever the case may be, because just as Kareem said, you need to talk about this situation together. We're going to go over the test that is contained in the book Slavery: The African American Psychic Trauma, and we want you to get your copy of this book because you need to begin the healing process. We've been so damaged emotionally that it's difficult to have a healthy relationship when you don't feel good about yourself. Everything someone else does, you take it as a personal confirmation of your lack of worth, as instead of it being their lack of understanding or their misperception and their inability to express their thoughts because they perhaps have been through a lifetime of suppressing of their thoughts by a society and even parents who raised them to just sit down and shut up. And so we haven't always learned how to talk to each other in a way that elevates each other and builds the trust, as Kareem is saying. So we want you to get your pen and paper again and note these points and answer these points so that you can discuss them with that loving partner, whether they're your current spouse, your hopeful spouse, your significant other that you've been with for a long time and hoping to perhaps have a permanent relationship. But you need to know some things about yourself. And so we're going to give you that opportunity to take this test, the marriage test, which helps really to reflect for you exactly who you are and what it is that you have been taught to believe or what it is that influences you and who you are as a person so that you can really know who is compatible with you. And again, there are no right and wrong answers. There's just simply knowing yourself and discussing those things that you may never have thought about. Because as Kareem says, there are influences on our lives that we're unaware of. And as a result, we do things that are harmful to ourselves and others. And sometimes we misunderstand the behaviors of others because we simply haven't learned to talk about it. So this is the marriage test on page 262 of the book Slavery: The African American Psychic Trauma. And we're going to go over a few questions before we take a break and give you a chance to really ponder what are some of the things that may be a significant point of conflict in your marriage. And we've got some folks that are watching already. So we want to encourage them to join us in this activity. And our dear sister Zelda says, Grand Rising, beautiful teachers. So good to see Imam Hamid enjoying the show.
Praise be to God.
Well, we want you to participate with us and give us your thoughts. We've got some people listening online. We're going to call on them afterwards. And of course, those online, you pay attention to the questions. Marriages fall apart largely due to conflicting attitudes about the essential things which can make or break a relationship. Answer these questions and discuss them at length with your spouse or your prospective spouse. Number 1, what do you consider to be the responsibility of a wife regarding wage earning, childbearing, cooking, cleaning, household financial management? Why don't you write that down? What do you consider to be the responsibility of a wife in those areas? Wage earning, childbearing, cooking, cleaning, household financial management. What is a wife's responsibility? What do you believe? Number 2, what do you consider to be the responsibility of a husband regarding wage earning, childbearing, child rearing, I should say, child rearing, cooking, cleaning, household financial management? Again, what do you consider to be the responsibility of a husband regarding wage earning, child rearing, cooking, cleaning, household financial management? What is the responsibility of a husband, in your opinion? Number 3, how do you feel about housekeeping? Are you a meticulously neat person? Are you somewhat relaxed about neatness and order? How often do you clean your home? Again, how do you feel about housekeeping? Are you a meticulously neat person? Are you somewhat relaxed about neatness and order? How often do you clean your home? I want you to think about it. Number 4, what are the 5 most important qualities you desire in a mate? 5 important qualities. What 5 traits do you consider most intolerable? Think about that. Number 5, did your parents remain together throughout your childhood until your adult life? Did you grow up in a 2-parent home or a single-parent home? Did either of your parents remarry? How did this affect you? That's question 5. So I want you to consider that. Number 6, describe your parents' relationship. Were they friends? Did they get along? Were they affectionate toward each other? Do you expect the same kind of marriage your parents had? I want you to think about it. Now, of course, we're going to, at the end of this test, explain how each of these questions point to a specific thing that could manifest in your marriage. There are no right or wrong answers, just a matter of how compatible you are in your experiences, your beliefs, and your expectations, and how eventually, if there's major incompatibilities, it's going to surface and destroy your relationship. Number 7, how did your parents resolve problems? Did they calmly discuss the differences? Did they argue? Did they stop speaking to each other? Did they become physically violent? Number 8, describe your relationship with your mother. Were you friends? Did you get along? Was she affectionate toward you? How do you feel about your relationship? Number 9, describe your relationship with your father. Were you friends? Did you get along? Was he affectionate toward you? How do you feel about your relationship? Number 10, how do you express affection? Are you demonstrative? Are you reserved? Number 11, how do you feel about the various expressions of sexual intimacy? What things do you prefer? What makes you uncomfortable? Number 12, do you think your mate should have sexual experiences before marriage? Number 13. Do you think you should have sexual experiences before marriage? Think about that. Oops. And number 14. If you have been sexually active in a previous relationship, what kind of expectations do you have regarding your current mate? Number 15. If you have not been sexually active in a previous relationship, what kind of expectations do you have regarding your current mate? Number 16. Have you had a negative sexual experience, such as a sexual assault? How did it affect you? We're going to pause there and take a break. And we're going to come back and finish the rest of the questions. Total questions, 30 questions. It's about halfway. And then we're going to talk about what the specific designations in those specific categories are going to reveal in your marriage. Because, in fact, these are the things people tend not to talk about. And these are the things that affect all the issues regarding their self-esteem, their expectations, and their conditioning. And it's the foundation that either determines whether you're going to get married and stay married, or if you're going to eventually split. So we'll be right back after this quick break. We want you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back after this quick break with more of your comments, and then we'll also take some calls and get some thoughts of our listening audience. And you can give us a call. The number's at the bottom of the screen, 727-731-5192. We do want to hear from you. We'll be right back, so stay with us.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
And we will be right back after this. Well, let me continue on with our questions, and then we'll be back with the analysis, because we have we want to give you an opportunity to understand what it is that is affecting or could be affecting your relationship right now. And we stopped at question number 16. Have you had a negative sexual experience, such as a sexual assault? How did it affect you? That was the last question. So now we're on question 17. How do you express anger? Do you yell? Do you become silent? Do you pretend everything is okay on the outside but harbor inner resentment, which may later explode? Number 18, what are your career goals? Do you plan to continue your education after marriage, after children are born? Do you expect your spouse's financial support while you're in school? Think about that. Number 19, how do you manage money? Do you like to spend freely? Do you maintain a tight budget? Are you generally on time paying bills? Do you tend to accumulate debts? Think about that. Number 20, how do you feel about your financial status? Would it bother you if your spouse made more money than you? Would it bother you if your spouse made less money than you, whether you're male or female? Think about that. 21, how do you feel about family gatherings? Do you like to be around family members? Do you avoid holidays and special occasions with family members? Number 22, how do you feel about your mate's family? How does your mate's family feel about you? 23, do you have children from a previous relationship? Are you actively involved in rearing the child? Is the other parent actively involved in rearing the child? Have you and the other parent come to an agreement about your respective responsibilities for rearing the child? 24, does your mate have a child from a previous relationship? How do you feel about being actively involved in rearing the child? Have you and your mate come to an agreement about rearing the child? Think about that. Number 25, how do you feel about socializing? Are you a public person or a private person? Do you feel about guests? How do you feel about guests in your home? How do you feel about visiting others' homes? Number 26, how do you feel about your spouse or your potential spouse having friends of the opposite sex? Should your spouse still socialize with members of the opposite sex? If so, under what limitations, if any? So think about that. Number 27, have you been married or engaged before? How was your previous relationship resolved? Is there still bitterness, hurt, or anger between you and the previous person with whom you were involved? Number 28, what is your concept of God? Are you actively involved in an organized religion? How important are your religious beliefs? Number 29, how do you feel about your mate's religious beliefs? Are your mate's beliefs the same or different from your own? And number 30, how do you feel about yourself? Do you like the way you look? Do you like your personality? Are you pleased with what you have achieved in life so far? So those are the questions that you and your loving partner need to discuss. Again, that is the marriage test in the book Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma. We want to remind you, of course, you can get that book. And for those who get the paperback book online, we want to give you a special gift of the digital copy that you can read on your cell phone and your computer and pull up digitally as a gift only during the month of February. So you need to order it during the month of February, and that will, in fact, give you the opportunity to have it with you wherever you go. In addition to that paperback copy that may serve as a guide for so many areas of your life. Again, you can go to www.naimalatif.com/books. That's www.naimalatif.com/books and get your copy of the book Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma. As we said before, it's in high demand. Amazon is selling it for like $300+ because it's been sold out so long. And now that we are back with the book that is helping us to heal this long time trauma from our enslavement experience, we need to get about the business of healing so that we can build strong communities. And one of the most important things is the foundation of a community, which is the marriage between a husband and wife. So, Kareem, before we go over the meanings of each of these sections of questions and what kinds of things they reveal, do you remember having a conversation about any of these things before you got married? Do you remember any of these things that were not discussed that may have come up after you got married? What do you recall?
Well, I remember I was involved in quite a lengthy, what we call courtship, due to some of the mistakes that I made in previous marriages and not wanting to repeat those mistakes and create those circumstances. And Aisha had had a toxic relationship, and she felt the same way that I did. I'm not going to take any more mess, you know. And so we truly, I mean, real talk. I'm not talking about that kissy, hug. No, a real in-depth conversation as to what we want and what we expect from each other. That was made clear from the out as we progressed through the courtship. A lot of these subjects here, some of them we addressed and some we did not address. But as we moved through our marriage, these subjects came up, and we were able to, to share and talk with each other. That's the most important thing.
Yes, to be able to talk to each other. Yeah.
Right. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Absolutely.
That's in every area. You know, when you mention cleaning the house and cooking, we call that female work. Stop.
Yes.
Stop. That is teamwork.
Absolutely.
You know, we can't pigeonhole each other and put each other in these small boxes, these small compartments, and expect them to operate to our satisfaction. No, we have to join in. You know, there's nothing wrong with the husband and the wife participating. My father loved to cook.
Yes.
I
Yes.
I learned how to cook.
Yes.
My father used to iron clothes. I love ironing clothes. These are traits that I learned and I saw him participating in.
That's what's critical. Yes. So
You know,
if you
teamwork.
never learn it, you don't know you're supposed to know it. And that's where a lot of couples end up clashing because one might have been taught, oh, but this is woman's work, and another might have learned those skills. And so they demonstrated the teamwork. But I've seen more divorces happen because a lot of people don't think to teach their son serious
Take care of himself.
making skills. And
Yeah.
so when they're both working jobs, but only one of them's working in the house, that's usually the point of break where the
Mhm.
couple breaks apart. And I see it over and over again. And you got to talk about that so that at least you're compatible with what the expectations are and the preparation is. And Deborah says, yeah, all of the above, one, all of the above, and two, all of the above. Yeah, in terms of the questions on the responsibilities of the husband and wife. And, that first thing tends to be the thing that the two people assume and don't really talk about. And then when they get in the house, there's anger because somebody feels like the other person isn't doing their share. And that person might feel like, well, this is not my job, that's your job. And
Yeah.
even today, that mentality still exists. So it has an impact. We're going to take one quick break and then we're going to come back. And Deborah says, this is good for book club readers. Yes, we want you all to add this to your book club. We've got a lot of people who are, in fact, using it as a book club item. You can go to www.naimalatif.com/book and order Slavery.
Say that again, Naima, please. That was
Uh,
real quick.
www.naimalatif.com. It's on the screen /books. That's www because we're listening. www.naimalatif.com/books. And that's the website. You can order the book Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma. And we want you to get a gift. If you order it before the end of February, we're going to give you a special gift of the digital copy download. You get a special code so that only you can download that copy. But we want you to be able to have it wherever you go so that you can constantly refer to the things that may be impacting your life. And we know that so much of our experience is affected by. Can you still see me?
Yes, ma'am. I see you.
Okay, I did something. I can't see myself. Well, we want our listening and viewing audience to get the opportunity to get a book that can heal them from so much of what has caused us pain and suffering. And much of it has to do with our lack of self-esteem, which makes it difficult to sustain a healthy relationship. So we're going to be right back with each of the categories and take some callers. And again, you can give us a call. Numbers at the bottom of the screen, 727-731-5192. We do want to hear from you. And we will be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. Be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif. And if you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, along with our co-host Kareem Hamid, and we are excited because we've got some wonderful callers and viewers who are sharing their thoughts. And feel free to write your comments in on the screen, because we do appreciate the fact that you are watching and listening and joining us. I'm going to briefly go through the analysis of your answers and then take some calls, because there are reasons why you may have answered the questions the way you answered them. And we want to give you a chance to think about what this says. Again, there's nothing wrong. There's simply just what is. So analyzing your answers, questions 1 through 3. If you disagree on responsibilities and roles, this will be a continuous cause of friction. For orderly household management, couples must agree on how responsibilities are to be shared. As you say, teamwork. Questions 4 through 9. You should be aware of how family background affects the current attitudes and behavior of you and your mate. People tend to imitate what they have experienced. Sometimes people even go and meet their mate's family, which they should do that. Questions 10 to 17. You must be able to discuss your most intimate feelings and desires with your spouse without fear of ridicule or disgust. Physical intimacy is a sensitive issue which should be addressed without hostility. Those are those questions about sex. Think about that. Questions 18 to 20. Pursuit of personal career goals, as well as changes in financial status and conflicting attitudes toward financial management, can have a great impact on a marriage. Questions 21 to 27. Understand how your mate expects you to interact with family members and friends. Negative feelings toward family members, ex-spouses, children, or old friends can create jealousy and hostility if not resolved. Questions 28 to 29. Religious beliefs can often define ethical standards and influence social behavior. Agreement on ethical standards can eliminate certain problems. And question 30. Personal self-esteem is important. You cannot love another person until you love yourself. So if you and your mate have major conflicts over more than 5 of these questions, and you still want to maintain the relationship, consider couples counseling before you get married. If you're already married, consider professional counseling to help resolve conflicts before they develop into irreconcilable differences. So this is a guide on where you may have some instances of perhaps some incompatibilities. We're going to take some callers in these last few minutes that we have, and area code 727-741. Your phone's unmuted. You are live. Go right ahead. Did you hear, first of all, have you been married, and did you hear any of those issues that may have come up in your marriage? Walaikum salam.
And I hope I'm not hearing echo.
Yeah, I'm hearing it echo.
Let me go this well. Okay. Not being married now, widowed,
Mm-hmm.
but understanding a lot of those questions, you know, in general conversation, because of our mutual upbringing, some of
Mm-hmm.
those things were answered just in the practice of going out and being in the midst of others, and you get to see how the other person, you know, how they carry themselves, how they respond to conversations and doing different things with you. Are they polite? Are they ask you what you want rather than making the decision for you? Those little things. But overall, getting into the business expectations or how to manage the household finances, for us, it was a mutual thing. And
that's
for our expectations of goal setting for the future was mutual. So where the differing, I would say, came into view was I had children prior to the marriage, and we didn't have children together.
Mm.
And he didn't have children that he accounted, but there was an accusation placed that he had impregnated someone, and a child was in the midst of it all. And I found myself, I'm very amenable, so it didn't cause a difference. But he kind of thought that the possible mother was going to cause some stagnation in our connection, but it didn't. But he took us to discuss it and see, how we're going to deal with it. And then, we both agreed that the child didn't have a problem, and this wasn't the problem. So we formed a relationship with the child regardless, and he shared with the child, I'm not your father, but I will be your father. That's how we handled that.
Yes. That is admirable that you all were able, of course, that was Martha Nyla. We appreciate you so very much. Thank you for calling in, sharing that. A lot of times these days, people are dealing with blended families, and you have all the attitudes that children have depending on the age when your family blends. Sometimes if they're teenage, that becomes very difficult because they do not accept that step parent as a parent figure. So those are things that need to be worked out even before you come together. A lot of people don't, and that becomes a continuous source of friction. But it's good that you and your spouse were able to talk about that. I'm not sure if we're going to have time for this last call. You got about 30 seconds. Area code 221. Let me just ask you real quick. Have you been married? And did you hear any of those questions that were a subject of your relationship?
Actually, I would say I intend to marry Amber Rose.
Well, I think you better make sure she gets with you and takes this test. We got to go. But I appreciate you so much for calling in. Anybody that you're considering marrying, we got to go. But anybody you're considering marrying or being in a long-term relationship to prepare for marriage, get with them, get this test, talk about these things, discuss your compatibilities, and make sure you are able to deal with the very sensitive issues. Many times, some of those questions we talked about, the intimacy issues, if these are not things you can feel comfortable with talking with someone, if you've had a hurtful experience, the impact is going to surface in your life. So, last words of wisdom, Kareem, before we go?
Yes, ma'am. Well, what you are offering is what is very valuable is communication. Communication. The two should speak with each other in our open and honest conversation concerning these matters and these issues. I think that is very therapeutic prior to marriage,
Absolutely.
Some people say, well, no, I don't want to touch that. Well, wait a minute. I'm talking about spending the rest of my life with you.
You better talk about it. It's not going to go away.
That's right.
Well,
good cause.
all right. Well, thank you all so much. Again, go to www.naimalatif.com/books. You can rewatch this show if you want to, hear the questions, of course. But we want you to get your copy so that you can go over the test with your potential lifetime mate and iron out those things that make a difference, because we do want to build strong and healthy communities. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Join us for Mama Africa's House. Until that time, continue to shine your light.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.